Basil, a former boyfriend of Jill Dando, whom she met on safari, has talked to the police and dismissed the claims it was a contract killing.
Yeah, it's all speculative at the moment. I think it's up to the police to make the investigations.
Yeah. So when Jill Dando was murdered, you would have expected the first place the police would have looked is at people that are closest to her. That would have been the first place they would have looked. And I'm suspecting that one of the first people they would have looked at is one of Jill Dando's ex-boyfriends. Most murders that are committed by people that the victim knows. The fact that Jill Dando was about to get married would have gave one of Jill Dando's ex-boyfriends motive to commit the crime. So this is Simon Basil, one of Jill Dando's ex-boyfriends, not to be mistaken for Alan Farthing, who was her current fiancé. Now let's play a game. Let's say the police got a warrant to search Simon Basil's house. Inside his house they find a 3/4 length jacket. Wow, that's strange because the killer of Jill Dando was wearing a 3/4 length jacket. They take that jacket to the lab and they do tests on it. And inside the pocket of that 3/4 length jacket, they find gunshot residue. And that gunshot residue is indistinguishable from the gunshot residue found on Jill Dando. The police also got a witness. One of Jill Dando's neighbours said they see a man hanging out outside Jill Dando's house early in the morning. They take this witness to an ID parade, and this witness picks out Simon Basil. One of Jill Dando's neighbours picks out Simon Basil, says he was outside Jill Dando's house 7 o'clock the morning she was murdered. They also find a gun holster in Simon Basil's house and a list of replica guns with their prices on it, the type of gun that would have been used to shoot Jill Dando. They also asked Simon Basil for an alibi for the time Jill Dando was shot. He didn't have an alibi. In fact, he was trying to make false alibis. They also checked into Simon Basil's past, and he had a history of stalking and violent offences against women. Any rational thinking person would look at all of this evidence and rightfully so point the finger at Simon Basil. I mean, the eyewitness and the gunshot residue in the 3/4 length jacket would be enough, but how comes when we replace Simon Basil with Barry George, all of the evidence can be explained away? I mean, who would argue that if Simon Basil had gunshot residue in his pocket, that the gunshot residue was contamination? No one would make that argument. Guys, it's the same evidence. I just changed the person. You shouldn't make a judgment based on whether someone's guilty or innocent based on who they are. You should make that judgment, or your perception of them. You should make that judgment based on the evidence. If Simon Basil had all this evidence linking him to the murder of Jill Dando, no one would explain it away. But when I changed the picture to Barry George, all of a sudden excuses can be made, despite the evidence being exactly the same. This is called the poor old Barry George narrative.